one client asking whether iTax is configured for DST.
Yes, please, James. Go right ahead.
Yes, the iTax system is already up and running and is already configured for DST. By January next year, January 2021, it's all system up and go. It's configured.
Is there a specific date for this?
Okay, the DST is supposed to start on January 2021. That's when we will start it. But registration, we can register even now. Registration is ongoing.
Yes. We have a question from F. Kimovo. And before we get to F. Kimovo, Sylvester is asking, is it a direct or indirect tax? James,
Yeah, I've seen it. It's a direct tax. That's why I explained there that it's not like VAT whereby the burden is borne by the final consumer. So it's a direct tax.
Mr. Kimovo, I do not see your hand, and I'm not sure I see the name with which you operate. So.
I don't know whether you can hear me.
Oh yes, now I can.
Okay, great. And thanks, James. I think you've gathered quite a number of some insights there. I have a couple of questions. I don't know whether you want to respond to them individually, or I tell you all the questions and then you respond to them at a go. How would you want to do it, James Okal?
I think I will respond to them one by one.
One by one, eh? Okay.
That's better.
Okay, so my first question is, I mean, we got DST draft regulations that were released by the government at some point. So there was an invitation by the commissioner in terms of guys just submitting to some of the areas that we believed needed to be tweaked a bit. The regulations, those submissions were done. I don't know whether you could, maybe you could tell us what is the status in terms of the comments being taken into account. And number two, probably also releasing the final regulations, given that this tax is will be live and kicking on 1st of January 2021, which is barely 28 days from now.
Good, Mr. Akimodo. Thank you for that. That's a very good question. In fact, the regulations should have been gazetted by 31st December, but there are some amendments which are still being taken into consideration once they are gazetted, because the tax will not take effect before the gazettement. So our expectation is that it should have been, or it will be gazetted by on or before 31st December this year.
Okay. That's okay, although that one brings a bit of uncertainty, especially for non-residents who need to do like preparations in terms of appointing representatives and what have you. So my next question will be in terms of I noticed from your slides you make a reference to this being a self-assessment sort of a regime.
Exactly.
My question then is, what is then the role of a DST agent? Because my understanding of a DST agent is a person who will do like withholding of the tax of the so-called DST, especially for non-resident person. Would you then, given that light, that there's an appointment of DST agents, still refer to it as a self-assessment regime? And number two, which is very closely tied to that, is there an overlap between the two people? Because it appears like you can actually do it as an individual. You can compute DST and pay by the 20th day of the following month, but still the regulations make reference to an appointment of a DST agent. So it appears like there's an overlap between the two persons. Could you kindly clarify on that so that maybe we as the participants can appreciate at what point then will the DST agent be used, or at what point am I required to account for this tax as a taxpayer?
Thank you very much, Mr. Kimodo, for that question. Now, what I meant by self-assessment is that the taxpayer will assess himself on what he or she has received for that period. It's not like the taxpayer will be forced to, because there are so many types of assessment. There's self-assessment, there's additional assessment, there are so many assessments. So the authority has left it for the self-assessment, to be a self-assessment regime. But when it comes to tax representative, I think for those non-residence companies who don't have a permanent establishment in Kenya, it's very clear that they can have a tax representative or appoint a tax representative to be paying GST on their behalf. Still, it's just self-assessment. It doesn't overlap to the other part. I don't know whether I've answered.
Okay, so do we have circumstances under which a resident person will account for the tax through a DST agent?
A resident person will through a DST agent.
Yeah.
That one is, I don't think it is there.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, my other question is, I think the digital service tax has been put out here as one of the taxes that will be maybe be applicable whenever you transact through a digital platform. And my reading of the regulations appear to point to the direction that you'll be charged GST to the extent that you are either a digital marketplace provider or a digital service provider. So my question is, if, for example, you are selling a good through a digital platform, what will be the taxable value? For example, you could be selling a packet of unga through one of the platforms that we have, and there are quite a number of platforms in Kenya. You could be selling unga through a digital platform where you just post your unga on a certain website. Then there will be a buyer who sees that unga in that particular website, and then they order, and then you deliver. So if, for example, the price of that unga that you sell through that platform is 100 bob, are we saying that DST will be applicable on the 100 bob, or DST will only be applicable to the extent that there is a service fee that is charged in relation to using that particular website?
Thank you very much. In fact, we shared with Beryl because we didn't want a mix-up, because that one is called that one of selling unga on online is called the VAT on digital market supply. That's another session we shall handle after this. This one, the DST is just for service only, not a good. Only for digital service, not a good. So that one is for another section, VAT on digital market supply. That one we shall handle in another session after this.
Well, that's a good point, and thanks for clarification. But I think it would be also very prudent to see that is also very well clarified, to ensure that there is no confusion, so that it doesn't appear that whenever you transact through a digital platform, then DST is activated.
Exactly.
I think there would be need to do that, to ensure that it is very clear. I think those are probably the questions that I will have for now. Sorry.
Sorry, just a moment, Kimotha. I'd like to follow up on your question. This is Abigail to James as well. If we can just dwell there a bit, because that is where there is confusion. So for example, let's take an example of Jumia, because it's the biggest marketplace right now. I am selling my unga for 100 bob there. So you say it's 1% of every transaction that happens on a digital marketplace. So does Jumia have to pay 1.5% on their 100, or is it on their profits? I think just take some time to clarify that, because people who are running digital marketplaces, they need to understand exactly how it's going to work.
It is not on profit. It's 1.5 on the gross transaction value. Not on the profit.
I think I like the way, Abigail, you have asked the question. That's what that's the point I was driving to. I think Abigail has probably clarified. So
yes, because if Jumia is being charged 1.5% of, let's say, from their 100 bob, because it is gross transaction value, then what, because I'm trying to look at, you said that the cost is not going to be passed off to the consumer. What stops them from passing that off to the consumer and just marking it up?
Thank you, Abigail. What I said earlier, that this is on digital service. Kimotho was talking of UNGA, and you are also talking of that. What I said, this is for service only, digital service tax. For example, we say like telemedicine, which is always there, whereby you are taken virtually through a doctor waiting room. But when it's come to like Jumia, we talk of VAT on digital market supply. That's what I told Beryl, that one we shall handle on another session. Because that one, on another session, please.
So what you're saying, DST does not apply to marketplaces that sell goods?
For goods, it is for VAT. DS is just for service offered online.
Okay. All right. So for example, it would apply to someone who's doing online courses.
Yeah, online courses. Like that one I've told you, like telemedicine, you're a doctor online.
Okay. All right. Very clear.
Yeah.
Very clear.
Thank you.
Maybe I think, James, for me, I'd differ with you a bit, and I would actually say that it is applicable. But this is how I look at it. If you sell UNGA through Jumia, for example, at 100 bob, if Jumia is charging you 10 bob for using their platform, then DST will be applicable on the 10 bob. Because what Jumia is doing there, Jumia is a digital marketplace provider, and as such, digital service is applicable on the commission that Jumia gets. However, on the cost of the good, which is the 90 bob, in my view, I don't think it should be subject to DST because it's a good.
Yeah,
I think that's a confusion that we probably need to. We probably need to have that a bit of clarity on that, even maybe in your future publications as KRA, as you send out to people, so that there is no confusion in terms of what is applicable where.
Exactly.
And I think the confusion can proceed even we have services that can actually, if for example you take Uber, there's a driver who is providing a service, and Uber earns through the Uber platform, say $100 per week. So the question is whether is the $100. Remember, Uber, the driving services are driving is not a good; it's a service.
It's a service, exactly.
So the question would be: are you going to charge the 1.5% on the 100, or you're not? And I think, in my view, it should not be applicable because driving is not a digital service, as it were, defined by the regulations. But I think those are some of the areas that we probably need to have a lot of clarity on, even as we get into this. And I think the other thing is I'm sorry for taking too long. I just have the final comment on this. Given that DST is going to affect quite a number of categories of people, and mostly even people who are earning very little money, I find a bit of difficulty where, for example, does DST regulations exempt people who are under the turnover tax regime by any chance?
There's no exemption under there's no exemption for me. Okay, exemption is just for people. What can I say? People who are on a pension, something like that, but not that under turnover tax.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Kimotho, and thank you very much, James and Abigail, for commenting and for asking the questions. We have several other questions and a lot more people raising their hands. I've seen your hand, Mr. Wanjiru, but before we get to you, I suggest that we kindly deal with other questions that have been posted here, and then we can revisit later. Mr. Kimotho, I see you have a lot to say, so we will connect you with James, so perhaps you can have a one-on-one session with him after.
Thanks.
Before we go to Andrew Wanjiru, we'll take a question from Ronald Dean, who asks, is this the only tax required for a solely online business, James?
For a solely online business?
Yes.
It is not the only tax required, because now We have VAT on digital marketplace, and we have DST, which is applicable to services. So for online services, there are two. We have VAT on digital marketplace, then we have DST on the services.
I think probably Ronald meant if you're running an online digital service, will this be the only tax you will be paying, or will you be paying additional taxes as well as this one?
It all depends whether you are a non-resident and resident. When you are a resident, that's the final tax. I think I clarified that. But when you are a resident, so you see, you have other tax obligations we'll be filing yearly. But for online, if you're running online, I hope it is only DST which will be applicable.
Well, Rose Nyaga, thank you, James. Rose Nyaga, I see your comments, but is providing a platform for selling goods, not a service in itself. I think James has clarified that there are two types of online platforms, one for digital services and the other one for online marketplaces. And I'm supposing that you can fall into either depending on what you're doing. So Ronald keeps asking again. I don't know if you see this, James, on the chat.
I'm not seeing it.
So if I have my own website selling my own goods, this tax does not apply. And I think you clarified this, that this is an online marketplace. Andrew Wanjiru will allow you to ask just one question, please, because we have a lot more questions going, and then questions going.
Thanks. My question is on iTax configuration. Yeah. So you said that the system is configured. So if I go to iTax right now, will I be able to register for DST, or would that have to wait until 1st January?
Thank you, Andrew, for that question. Now, if you go to iTax right now, you will be able to register for DST, and you'll see the obligation there. It's already configured.
Well, thank you very much, James. Protest Peter, if you own a website, the question is, are you getting any income from that site? If the answer is yes, then you're liable to pay DST. I'm not sure what you roll, but James, would you like to say something?
Yeah, if you own a website, you are like hosting, website hosting. The DST will apply to you.
All right. The next question from Sylvester. Can this lead to double taxation in the case of Uber? If the passenger pays 1% tax, then the driver pays VAT.
No, not really. It's not a double taxation, because when the passenger is not the one paying, it is the person who is receiving the payment. That's why I clarified there that you cannot shift the burden of DST to another person. So it's not a double taxation, please.
But doesn't the Uber passenger pay VAT?
The Uber passenger doesn't pay VAT. Is it receiving any income? Ask yourself, the Uber passenger is just paying for a service, which should be declared by the person who is receiving the service.
Okay. Another question we received from the sign-ups was, somebody said, I need to understand more about tax formulation so as to help my client understand more the importance of filing returns. I think this applies to accounting services and people like that. How will they help their clients to file the DST?
In fact, the DST, according to how we have anchored in on iTax, is there's no return for it. It's just a payment. You make a payment, so there's no return. But if he wants to learn more, or she wants to learn more, I think we can engage further after this. And Beryl, you can even take the contact so that we can take him for further training.
Well, James, thank you. I see Stefan Can you see the questions on the chat on your end? Stephanie?
Yeah, I can see. I can see.
There's just the last one there coming from Stephanie. And then I'm not sure if Andrew Wanjiru finished his question. So after that, it's Andrew Wanjiru's question.
The last one from?
Stephanie.
Because the last one I'm seeing here is for Stephanie Yora.
That's the one.
That's the last one I'm seeing.
Asking, yes. So should it be the Uber driver or Uber itself paying DST? Who's paying DST? Is it the Uber driver or Uber?
The person who should be paying DST is the person who has received the service. Who is going to receive the payment, of which it is the Uber. The Uber company is the one receiving the payment. It's not the driver. The driver you have employed and you are paying him is on salary or something, depending on the agreement.
Thank you, James. Ladies and gentlemen, please keep sending in your questions. This is getting much more interesting as the time goes by. We appreciate all the hands getting raised. I wonder if anybody else has any question or any comments to put forward.
Beryl, a comment on or question on DST application to, for example, Facebooks and the likes. So social media platforms.
Yes.
James, does it apply?
Yes. Yeah, it has applied to social media platforms. Because you'll find those social media platforms, they generate income. They have income generated.
So who has to submit to KRA? So for example, Facebook has to pay KRA?
Yeah, Facebook has to pay KRA 1.5% of the transaction done. Gross transaction.
So of all the revenue they make from Kenya, they have to remit to KRA 1.5%.
1.5%.
Okay.
I think on that one I have a different view. And sorry to say, if you look at the DST regulations, I think there is a specific section that actually exempts you from DST if what you are paying is subject to withholding tax. If you look at most of the payments that are done to Akina Facebook, they relate to advertisements and promotion. So advertisement and promotion effective, I think last year is subject to withholding tax. And as such, given that it is subject to withholding tax, then I think you would need not to account for DST as Facebook or as those big multinationals. That is my view. That's my view, John. I think James, correct me if I'm wrong.
No. In fact, you are very correct. When it comes to advertising, the withholding rate is 20%. So when you are withhold the 20%, there's no need of subjecting it to DST again, like advertising.
Thanks for that clarification, John.
Yeah. Thanks.
Mr. Kimozo, thank you for your wonderful, insightful questions, comments. We appreciate that. And Abby, thank you again. Dave, I see your mic is unmuted. I wonder if you have a question or Dave? Well, while he's still organizing himself, there's a question from an unknown person here. Hi, will the DST apply to merchandise purchased on Jumia and Amazon, James?
Merchandise purchased on Jumia and Amazon will be the VAT on DMS will be applicable to them.
All right. A few people are asking on the inbox how to reach us further to discuss the tax. Please just use the emails provided, and then we'll share contacts at the end of the meeting. So if you need further questions or if you have a lot more to talk about, we'll share comments. We will share contacts at the end of the meeting. The floor is still open, ladies and gentlemen, to questions and comments. So please. While we're waiting, James,
Yes.
just go over the tax jurisdiction with regards to the digital service tax again, with regards to residences, non-residents, because I see a lot of comments about that on the side.
The tax jurisdiction. Let me just repeat that part a bit.
Yes.
I think we discussed earlier that for non-residents, this will be a final tax, and non-residents here are those that doesn't have a permanent establishment in Kenya. And for residents, the DST will be like an advanced tax. So maybe I'm not clear, or maybe I don't know how to put it anyway.
I think you're okay. Somebody just wanted to clarify that. Another question here. If I register as a tax representative right now, will I be able to register as a tax rep for DST purposes?
Yeah, you can register for tax representative. Then you be a tax representative for DST.
So yes, it's possible to register as a tax representative now and still register to be a tax rep for DST purposes. Does anybody have any other question?
I can see somebody here saying that kindly share the presentation document. I hope you'll share with them.
Yes.
Presentation.
We will share the document.
Beryl, I think there was a question on during the sign-ups.
Yes.
Just one that I'd like to read out. It asks if you're operating a marketplace on behalf of other vendors, who pays for the tax? Are there special licenses for marketplace? So I think this person is asking, so for example, I run an online courses platform and I have different trainers offering their courses on that platform. Who pays the tax? Who pays the tax?
You have different trainers.
Yes.
Just repeat it so that I get it clearly.
So case in point, I run an online courses platform, but on that platform, what I do is I host other trainers. So I can have different people. Let's say Kare can host their courses there, and Beryl can host a digital media courses there. Who pays for tax there?
While you are hosting, is there any income you are accruing from that?
Yes, I'm probably charging commissions on every course that people take on my platform.
Yeah, that will be subject to DST.
But who pays? Is it the trainer or is it the platform owner?
The host.
Okay.
The host.
Thank you, Abby. Thank you, Abby. I'm not sure if anybody else still has any more questions or comments. Ladies and gentlemen, the floor is open for questions or comments. James, I'm not sure if we've covered this or not, but again, during the sign up, as Abby says, someone says, I'm intending to move some of my business operations online and wanted to know the modalities of the tax. I think this takes us back to the marketplace and the DST. So if you don't mind, just clarify over that again. Repetition doesn't.
He has moved what?
He wants to move his businesses online. So I would just like you to go over the marketplace and the DST once again. The difference between
yeah, when he's going online, let's say like an online supermarket, that one the VAT will apply. But if it's a service going online, that one is the digital service tax will be applicable. So it depends which kind of business has been moved online.
All right. Sylvester asked here before, is DST a direct or an indirect tax?
I think that one I clarified that it is a direct tax.
Okay, thank you, James. The floor is still open, ladies and gentlemen. The platform is still open for questions and comments. Abby, do you have any further questions?
No questions. I think all we'll have to do, we'll post the contacts of KRA, the tax educators, so that if anybody else has any further questions, they can reach them. Yeah, but I don't have any other questions.
Mr. Kimoto, are all your questions answered now?
Yeah, they answered. But I think it's an interesting topic. So we hope maybe you guys can arrange for another discussion when maybe the final regulations are out.
Absolutely, absolutely. James, any comments?
Yes.
Further suggestions?
I just want to thank everyone who has joined us on board. This is a learning process. It's still ongoing. Just like Mr. Kimoto said, that the regulations are not yet out. We are still engaging. Feel free to contact us anytime. I'll give Beryl as my email address and my phone contact. If I don't pick, just text me or just mail me. I think we'll keep in touch. Otherwise, thank everyone who has made it possible for this meeting.
Thank you, James. Before you go, I see Jedi Ochoa's hand is up. Jedi, please.
Good morning, everyone. I just want to thank each and every single person on this call. I want to thank the organizers. This is a very important sensitization. And what I want to promise is that KRA, we are ready and willing to come out anytime. If you have any questions, if you have any concerns, we are ready to address them. And I'm hoping that this will be the first of many such meetings. Let's not just do it once and stop. We need to do others. We need to clarify the differences, what James has alluded to. But one thing, James, I think the organizers have got James's contacts. They have my contacts. Anybody who even wants a one-on-one, feel free. Because at KRA, we say building trust through facilitation. So we are there to facilitate you. We are there to make you be clear about how you're supposed to go about your obligations, and also so that you're clear about all your rights, even as you fulfill those obligations. So once again, mine is just to express gratitude. And I hope that this has been a good session. Thank you very much, and have yourselves a lovely day, all of you.
Thank you, Jedi. Ladies and gentlemen, Jedi also works for the Kenya Revenue Authority alongside James. We will share our LinkedIn profiles. This is a request from Sylvester. So yes, that is coming up shortly. We appreciate your presence here today. The meeting was meant to go for an hour and a half, but all is well that ends well. Well, we've shared the presentation already, and I would just like in a special way to thank the Kenya Revenue Authority, Amari Consulting, and HT Media for organizing today's meeting. Before we sign off, I wonder if Abigail or Christine from Amari has a word to say.
Nothing from my end, just for everyone who's attended to expect more of this, because I think we still need to do a lot of clarification. So probably the next one will be on the digital marketplace, VAT, just like James has said, so that it's very clear on people's obligations. Sometimes I feel like we probably, a lot of opposition happens because there's no correct information on the ground. Yeah, so I think this is a good first step, and we can expect more of this. So thank you for everyone for tuning in as well. Hope to see you in the next meetings. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Abigail, and thank you very much, Christine.
Sorry, Christine is not able to give any comment right now.
All right, no problem. That marks the end of our session. James, we appreciate your knowledge and your facilitation of this. And thank you very much, Jedi, for allowing this to be possible. Ladies and gentlemen, you're free to ask further questions to the email through which you received your invitations if you have further emails, and any other communications will be sent out through the same link. Thank you very much for attending this session, and do have a lovely day.
Thank you, Beryl.